Hi everyone, welcome to your mat. And I am so excited about our practice today because it's the holiday season and I love to theme our practices. So all month long we have some fun themes in store that kind of work around some holiday ideas, but also kind of come into the heart of what yoga is. So today's practice is inspired by the Grinch. So I'm wearing my green shirt today because the story of the Grinch, as you know, his heart was too small, so we had to grow his heart through the story. And we're going to work on that today. We're going to open up our heart space, really kind of tune in, pay attention to our heart chakra, the color green. And so we're going to work through this theme in our practice today to just open up that heart space and prepare us for a wonderful, loving, happy holiday season. So let's go ahead and get started. You will need a block for the practice today if you want it. You don't absolutely need it, but I like to have it for some of the poses. So if you have one handy, use that today. And we will go ahead and get started. So as we start our practice today, let's come into a comfortable seated position, and that can be in any way that feels good for your body. So the legs can be crossed, they can be extended out, soften the shoulders. We're going to start by placing our hands over our heart space, soften the shoulders, close the eyes, and then let's tuck the chin towards the chest. We're going to take a few moments here to just focus on our breath. Taking nice deep inhales and exhales through the nose. And then maybe notice what that heart space is feeling. In yoga, the heart space, our heart chakra, is Anahata chakra. The color is green. So if you want to envision that color green here, filling up your body from the hands into the heart space and then kind of just like melting out into the rest of your body. This is an area of our body that we focus on love and connection and intimacy, but that has to start with ourselves. So we have to feel these feelings for ourselves. This is also an area for us to try to feel unstuck, to loosen the reins a little bit, to let ourselves be open. So as we continue to breathe here, maybe notice the feelings, thoughts, or sensations that are coming to mind. Just acknowledge them. Let's try not to push any of those feelings away, but let's sit here with them. Taking another big, deep breath. And let's gently release the hands. We can open the eyes. We're going to start to add a little bit of movement here. I'm going to drop the hands down. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, let's open to cactus arms. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. And then we're going to give ourselves a great big hug. Yeah, like I said, our heart chakra space, it's all about compassion and self-love as well. So we want to feel that in ourselves so that we're more easily able to take this practice off of our mat and out into the world. Let's go ahead and gently release the hands. Notice which arm you have on top here as we release the hands down. We're going to inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Do that one more time. Exhale, bend the elbows. And then this time, we're going to put the opposite arm on top. So as you give yourself a great big hug, opposite arm comes on top. Walk those hands towards the shoulders. Lift the elbows up. Take a big, deep breath here. And exhale, let that breath go. Good. Let's go gently release those hands. And then bringing in the hands to heart center. So this time the palms of the hands come together, fingers come together, thumbs come together, and press right against that heart space. One more time, we're going to gently tuck the chin. You can close the eyes here or take a soft gaze down at the floor. And let's take a moment to connect with our inner voice, our inner wisdom. Deep beneath these pieces and stories that we tell ourselves, even if there's pain or there's love, whatever it is, below those stories, there's a wholeness, a boundless supply of love, and a wellspring of compassion. So let's work on pulling that out of our bodies today, opening ourselves up. And recognize that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. Just like the Grinch found out that Christmas really was about so much more. It wasn't just about the presents. It wasn't just about the toys, but it was about the gathering of the people and everyone coming together in community. So let's first find that compassion for ourselves, and we'll bring it out and share it with the world. Let's gently release the hands, and we're going to come into our tabletop position. As we come into our tabletop, we're going to move in our cat and our cow poses. So we're going to drop those hands right under the shoulders, knees under the hips, hold the core nice and strong, and let's inhale, lift the head, chest, and tailbone. We're going to spend a little bit more time focusing on cow pose today, because again, this can help open up that heart space. So think about pulling those shoulder blades down the back, really kind of creating a lot of openness and space between the shoulders and the chest as we lift the chin. Exhale, we'll round into our cat pose. Tuck the tail just for a little bit of a counter stretch. And then inhale again, lift into our cow pose. Exhale, round into our cat pose. Take a few more breaths here and move in cat and cow pose. Maybe wiggle the hips a bit. Look over the shoulders. Shift forward and back. Any movement that feels good for you. Good. Now we're going to come into another variation of this. We're going to come down onto the forearms. So we're kind of like in a puppy pose where the hips stay lifted. And we're going to work our cat and our cow pose from here. So as we inhale, we're going to lift the head, chest, and tailbone again. Now, this is not going to be quite as big as when we're on our hands, just because there's less space. But we're going to think again about opening up the chest and the shoulders, shining that heart space forward. And then tuck the tail, tuck the chin. Inhale again, lift and lengthen. Exhale, round. Let's do two more. Good. Gently walk back up to the hands. Good. And now we're going to come into our downward facing dog. So I'm going to walk the hands forward slightly, shift into a kneeling plank, curl the toes, and then shift those hips up and back. Take some time here, pedal the heels, move the hips. Let's pull the shoulder blades down the back, shake the head yes and no, release any tension here. Good. And then we're going to drop back down to our child's pose. So as we inhale, we're going to come forward to plank, drop the knees, and exhale back to child's pose. Inhale, come forward through plank. Exhale to our downward facing dog. Inhale again through plank, drop the knees, exhale back to child's pose. One more time, inhale forward, exhale to downward dog. This time we're going to take the gaze forward, walk the feet to meet the hands, hands can walk back to meet the feet. Coming into our forward fold, shake the head yes and no, roll out the wrists, ragdoll side to side, and then let's come halfway up. Hands to the shins, extend the spine. So here we've got a nice flat back extending from the crown of the head forward, sticking that tail back, Gently round and release. Bend the knees. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Come all the way to standing. Exhale, float hands to heart. Good. All right. We made it to standing pretty quick, and then that's okay. We're going to continue to warm up as we're standing. So let's come into our mountain pose at the top of our mat. We're going to bring our feet about hip bone width apart, lift the toes, spread them out, place them back down on our mat. Soften the shoulders. Let's take a big deep breath here. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. We're going to do that same movement we did on the floor seated. So we're going to bend the elbows, squeeze those arms together, and then reach the arms out. Give yourself a hug. A big deep breath here. Exhale, let it go. Again, inhale up. Exhale, bend at the elbows. Squeeze those shoulder blades and give yourself a great big hug. Good. Gently release. Now we're going to come into a chest expansion here. So we're going to interlace the fingers back behind the back. Now we can open up the chest and shoulders and then draw the shoulders down. Hold the core strong here so we're not kind of like sticking the booty back and pressing the belly forward. I want you to hold everything strong. Our focus is the chest and the shoulders. So we're going to lift that chin up to the sky, soft bend to the knees as we hinge forward into our forward fold here. The hands can stay on the back or they can release. And when we're ready, we'll drop the hands down. Ragdoll again, side to side a little bit. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, release. Bend the knees and let's reverse swan dive to stand. Exhale, sink into our chair pose. Let's hold for one breath here. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, come back through mountain pose. We're going to do that one more time. Chest expansion again. Interlace the fingers. Open up that chest and heart space. Exhale, hinge forward. Soft bend to the knees here so we're protecting our lower back. When we're ready, release the hands to the floor. Inhale, lift halfway, extend the spine. Exhale, release. Inhale, reverse swan dive to stand. Exhale, hands to heart. Let's sink right into that chair pose. Keep the chest nice and lifted. Hold here for one breath. And our next inhale will come back through standing. Good. Shake it all out. We're going to get into some kneeling lunges. So let's come back up towards the top of our mat. Soften the shoulders. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Let's inhale, step the right leg back into a high lunge. And then we're going to drop the right knee, top of the right foot. Sweep the arms up. Soften the shoulders here. Now I know we're focusing on heart space, but again, everything in the body is connected. So we're going to work the hips a little bit so we can open up that hip flexor, open up the quad muscle, and extend those arms up. Let's shift forward into that lunge a little bit. And then we're going to cartwheel that right arm towards the right leg. So we're going to sweep that arm back behind us towards that right thigh. You can place it on the lower back, maybe down towards the heel, but we're going to reach up towards the sky, kind of like a little bit of a reverse warrior, but in this kneeling lunge position. Take a big deep breath here. And as we exhale, we're going to cartwheel the arms. This time that right hand is going to come down to the floor as the left hand lifts to the sky. Big deep breath. And let's go ahead and do that through a flow. So we'll inhale, sweep the arms up, come into that kneeling reverse warrior, and then release, cartwheel the hands down into that kneeling lunge twist. This time the left hand lifts to the sky. One more time, we'll flow up and reach back. And then flow into that twist. Right hand to the ground, left hand to the sky. Good, let's release the hands, curl the back toes. We're going to go back to our downward facing dog. Pedal the heels, move the hips, and just take notice of the differences in the legs here.
Roll the shoulder blades down the back, bend the knees as much as we need to. From this position, we're going to work through our sun salutation. So let's inhale, roll forward to our plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga, toes or knees. Inhale to upward dog or on the belly for cobra. Exhale back to downward dog. Big deep breath here. Take the gaze forward. Walk or float the feet to meet the hands. Soften in your forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, reverse swan dive to stand. And exhale, hands to heart. Good. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to turn on my mat just so I'm not facing backwards, but you can stay right where you're at. So we're going to start in that mountain pose again. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. This time, the left leg will step back. Drop the left knee, top of the left foot, and sweep the arms up. Soften the shoulders. Find your stance in this kneeling lunge so that you're comfortable now that you know the flow where we're going to go. We want to make sure we're comfortable through the legs. So again, hands can stay at heart center for this first part if you would prefer, or they can lift up towards the sky. Again, hold the core nice and strong, soften the shoulders. Good. Now we're going to come into that little bit of the reverse warrior position here. So we'll sweep the arms up. Left arm is going to reach back behind us for the low back, the thigh, or the leg as we lift up towards the sky. Now again, think about opening up this heart space. Now if you're looking up towards the sky, it's going to challenge your balance a bit. So if you need to look down at the floor, we can still achieve that heart opening, shoulder, chest opening here by looking down. So just make sure that we're opening up through that chest space, but keeping the gaze at the floor. Good, let's cartwheel the hands. And we're going to bring the left hand to the ground. Right hand sweeps up to the sky. Take a big deep breath. Let's release. We'll inhale, cartwheel the arms up. Come back into that reverse warrior lunge. And release, cartwheel the hands down into the twist. We're going to do that one more time. So we'll cartwheel the arms up and open. And cartwheel down and twist. Good. Let's release the hands. Curl those back toes. Step back to downward dog. Take a moment, pedal the heels. Move the hips. Find your alignment in downward dog. And then let's flow. We'll inhale forward to plank. Exhale, lower chaturanga. Inhale, lift to low cobra or up to upward dog. Exhale, back to downward dog. Big deep breath here. Take that gaze forward. Walk or float the feet to meet the hands. Soften in your forward fold. Let's add a half lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, reverse swan dive. And exhale, hands to heart. Good, we made it. Now I'm gonna come back towards the other side of my mat because we're gonna go into another flow and we're gonna do one leg at a time here as well. So we're gonna start in this mountain pose. We're gonna take it up just a little bit. Again, we're not doing the exact same thing, but we're gonna stay standing and work on our lunge and our warrior one. So from our mountain pose, we're gonna soften the shoulders, take a big deep breath here. Exhale, release any tension that we're holding. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Now from here, we're going to step back into a high lunge. So again, right leg steps back first. And we sweep those arms up. And let's release the hands to heart center. Drop back through that back heel. So we're pressing energetically back through the back heel, tucking the hips. Chest stays lifted. And then from this position, we're going to come into a chest expansion. So we're going to release the hands down. Now we've got a few options. We can just reach those arms back behind us and open up the chest and the shoulders, or we can interlace the fingers and open up the chest space here. Let's take a big deep breath. And then from this position, we're going to come into our humble warrior in warrior 3. So that front leg stays the same. The back leg's going to step in and we drop the heel And we're gonna hinge forward into our humble warrior. Now we can stop here, kind of like an airplane hinge, that's fine. We can also hinge all the way down, let the head drop towards the ground. Maybe the hands lift off the back, maybe they don't. Take a breath here, whichever option you chose. And then let's release the hands, sweep them all the way up into our warrior one. Soften the shoulders. So again, we can adjust the stance if we need to. Both feet are grounded here. We've got a little bit of space, so the feet are kind of tracking in line with the hips. The hands can stay at heart center or extend overhead. Take a big deep breath. Good. Now from this position, we're going to open to our warrior two. So when we do that, we can adjust the feet here. Now we're going to come into our triangle pose here so we can continue to open up chest and hips. We're going to straighten out the front leg, shift, reach that left hand forward, and we can slide it down the leg, reaching that right hand to the sky. Now here's where we can use our block. I'm going to grab it just to show. You can use it if you want it, but you don't have to. It's going to be on the inside of that left foot. And it just helps bring the floor a little bit closer to us so we can stay nice and open in this position. Again, if we're looking up towards the sky, it might challenge our balance a little bit. So we can always take that gaze down towards the floor. Take a big deep breath here. We're going to gently bend back into that front leg. I'm going to move the block out of the way. I'm going to cartwheel the arms, coming back into that high lunge. So we're turning onto those back toes. Take another big deep breath here. Exhale, release the hands, plant the hands, step back to downward dog. Big deep breath. Good. Let's go ahead and run through our vinyasa flow, or you can stay in downward dog or drop the knees and rest in your child's pose. If we're going to flow, we'll inhale, roll forward to our plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale to upward dog. Exhale, back to downward dog. Big deep breath here. Take the gaze forward, walk or float the feet to meet the hands. Soften in your forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale, reverse swan dive to stand. Exhale, float hands to heart. All right, we're going to do that same series on the other side. Again, you can stay where you're at. I'm going to turn just so I'm not backwards on my mat. And we're going to start in that mountain pose. Soften the shoulders. Take a big deep breath here. Exhale, release. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Starting with that high lunge. This time the left leg steps back. Sweep those arms up. Soften through the shoulders. Hands can stay extended or come to heart center. We're going to find that stability here before we start to move. You can tuck the pelvis a bit, open up that hip flexor, hold the core strong. Good. Let's release the hands behind the back. Again, we can reach back with the arms, squeeze the shoulder blades, drop the shoulders, or we can take that chest expansion with the fingers interlaced behind the back. Now we're going to come into that humble warrior position. So we're going to drop that back heel, maybe step it in a little bit, and we're going to shift forward, hinge into that humble warrior. The hands can lift off the back. Take a big deep breath wherever you are. And then gently release. Sweep the arms up. Find our warrior one. Big deep breath here. Good. Let's open up into our warrior two. We're going to come into that triangle pose here. So we're going to straighten out that front leg, shift the hips back a bit, reach the right hand forward, and then drop it down to the leg, the ankle, the floor, or you can grab that block and open up through the chest and the shoulders. So again, we want to stay nice and open here in this triangle pose, taking the gaze up towards the sky or maybe down towards the floor. Let's take one more breath here. Gently bend back into that right knee, move your block. We'll come all the way up, and then we're going to cartwheel those hands down. Turn onto the back toes, plant the hands. Let's go back to our downward facing dog. Take a big deep breath here, and let's move through that vinyasa flow. Inhale, rolling forward to our plank. Exhale, lowering chaturanga. Inhale to upward dog. Exhale, back to downward dog. Take a big deep breath here. Now we're going to have a little bit of fun dropping into our wild thing, because wouldn't you know, the Grinch is a wild kind of character. So we're going to channel our inner Grinch, our inner wild thing, and we're going to lift that right leg up to the sky. So we've got a few options here. Again, I'm going to start here. You can stay right here. You can bend that right knee, and we can just work on opening up through the side of the body. Or we can rotate into our side plank on the left side. Drop that right foot down, lift the hips up to the sky for our wild thing. Take a big deep breath, and then we're going to gently drop those hips. Turn back over into our tabletop position. We made it. We made it through one round. Let's go ahead and curl the toes, lift the hips up and back. Take a big deep breath here. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to move that block out of the way just in case. And we're going to start with the left leg to the sky this time. You can stay here, or we can bend the knee. We're going to rotate and open through that side plank. Drop that foot back behind us. Lift the hips to the sky. Big deep breath. Gently drop the hips. And we're going to roll back over. Now from this position, we're going to come right into our child's pose. I'm going to grab that block and bring it close, just for some extra support. We can open up the knees, sit those hips back towards the heels. Arms can rest forward, and I grab the block just to rest the forehead on the block. But you don't have to. You can drop the forehead down to your mat. Arms can extend out. They can come back by the legs. You could take that Anjali Mudra with the prayer hands behind the head. Again, anything that feels good for you in this moment. We'll take a big deep breath here. Let's take one more breath. Then we're going to gently come back through that tabletop position. We're going to come into our downward facing dog. Curl the toes, lift the hips up and back. Pedal the heels if we need to, move the hips. We'll take that gaze forward, walk or float the feet to meet the hands. Hands come back to meet the feet. Inhale, lift halfway, extend the spine. Exhale, release. Inhale, reverse swan dive to stand. Exhale, hands to heart. All right, so we made it through both of those flows, and now we're going to put everything together. So we're going to put the kneeling version together with the standing version on one side of the body, and then we'll do the other side of the body. So let's again come back up into that mountain pose at the top of our mat. Soften the shoulders. Take a big deep breath here. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, soft bend to the knees, swan dive, forward fold. Right leg is going to step back into that high lunge. We're going to drop the knee, sweep the arms up into the kneeling lunge. Soften the shoulders. Now right from here, we're going to sweep that right arm back to the back leg, reach up to the sky. Cartwheel the hands. Right hand comes down to the floor, left hand to the sky. Good. Let's reach all the way back up. Plant the hands. Curl the back toes. We're going to go right into our high lunge from here. Sweep the arms up. Soften the shoulders. Good. Let's release the hands. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Open up the chest and shoulders. Drop that back heel. Hinge into our humble warrior. Inhale, let's cartwheel the arms up into our warrior one, and then open to warrior two. Straighten that front leg and come into our triangle pose. Left hand slides down the left leg, nice and open here in triangle pose. Good, gently bend back into that front leg. Warrior two, we'll cartwheel the hands down. Step back to our downward facing dog. The left leg is gonna lift to the sky. Bend that left knee. Drop into that wild thing. Lift the hips to the sky. Gently drop those hips. Roll back to our tabletop. Curl the toes and go back to downward dog. Big deep breath here. We can flow or we can hold. If you want to flow, we'll inhale forward to our plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, back to downward dog. Take the gaze forward, walk or jump the feet to meet the hands. Hands can come back to the feet. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands to heart. All right, we made it through one side. We've got one more side to go. I'm going to turn. You can stay right where you're at. Take a couple deep breaths. You know the poses. You know the flow. I know it's a little bit faster, but hey, we're in a hurry. We've got Christmas presents to deliver, right? We've got to bring them back to the who's. So we've got to move a little fast. So we're going to start back in that mountain pose. Soften the shoulders. Inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. This time, the left leg will step back, drop the left knee, sweep the arms up into our kneeling lunge. Go ahead and sweep that back arm, well, not your back arm, it's going to be that left arm back to the leg, lift up, open up that heart space. We're going to cartwheel the hands, left hand down to the floor, right hand up to the sky, into that twist. Good, gently come all the way back up. Exhale, hands plant. We're going to curl the back toes, lift up into our high lunge. Sweep the arms up. Find your stability here. Soften the shoulders, release the hands. Interlace the fingers back behind the back. Open up the chest. Let's drop the heel, hinge into our humble warrior. Release the head, shake the head yes and no. And then hands can release. We'll come up through our warrior one, open to our warrior two, straighten out that right leg. Right hand reaches forward and down the right leg as we open into our triangle pose. Big deep breath here. And gently release, come back up through warrior two. Cartwheel the hands down into that high lunge. We're going to go right back to down dog split with that right leg up to the sky. Bend that right knee. Rotate through your side plank. Drop into that wild thing. Let the hips drop. Roll back over to our tabletop. And guess what? We're going to child's pose now. So we're going to open the knees, sit those hips back, rest the forehead down on the floor or your block. Take big, deep breaths here. Try to recenter the breathing a little bit. You can shift back and forth. Try to settle into your child's pose. Let's take one more breath here. And then inhale, come back up to the hands. Coming through that tabletop position, we're going to come all the way up onto our knees. And I'm going to use my block for this next pose. So you don't have to use this, but it's a little bit more comfortable. So I'm going to place it back behind the feet. And we're going to come into our camel pose, and we're going to do one arm at a time. So that's why I've got the block here. So I can reach back for the block instead of the back or the foot. So it kind of is like a little bit of in-between space. Again, you can reach back for the lower back. You can reach for the foot, or you can reach for your block. you get to choose. So we're going to start here with the knees right underneath the hips, soften the shoulders. We're going to sweep the arms up. Now again, this is kind of just like we did in the lunge, but we're doing our camel version. So both knees are down. We're going to reach that left hand back behind us towards the block or the lower back and lift up to the sky. Now the difference here is that we can press both of the hips forward. So press the hips forward, reach up, kind of imagine that heart space lifting towards the sky. Take a big deep breath here. Good. Gently release, come all the way up. You can sit back into hero pose or you can sit onto your block. I'm going to adjust that block a little bit and sit down into that hero pose. Soften the shoulders. Now hands, we can rest on the thighs by our side or hands at heart center. We're just taking a brief pause as we transition between sides. You can gently tuck the chin. Take a big deep breath here. And let's go ahead and gently inhale, open the eyes, come all the way back up to the knees. I'm going to turn my block so it's tall again. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Inhale the arms up. This time, the right hand is going to sweep back to the block, the lower back or the feet. Press the hips forward, squeeze the glutes, open up that heart space as we come into our camel pose. Take another big deep breath here. And then gently release again. We're going to release the hands, release the hips. Now you can sit up nice and high in that hero pose. Hands come to heart center. You can move that block all together and just sit on the feet. Or stay up on the knees as well. Take a big deep breath. Exhale, let it go. Okay, let's gently release the hands. We're going to come off the block, move that off to the side. We're going to come into our tabletop position and round the back. Tuck the tail. You can move a little bit, wiggle the hips. Just trying to get a little bit of a counter pose for the camel. Good. Now we're going to come into a seated position. So let's sit down, circle the legs all the way around. And we're going to come into our butterfly pose. So from this butterfly pose, we're going to stay nice and lifted. Lift through the crown of the head, hands to the ankles, and we're going to hinge forward. So the elbows can rest on the thighs. You can keep a nice straight spine here, or we can round the back, let the forehead drop towards the feet. You can shake the head yes or no. Take a big deep breath. Let's gently inhale, come back through center. We're going to close the knees and we're going to lay all the way down on our mat. Now, before we lay all the way down, we're going to actually come into our fish pose. So I know I said lay all the way down, but you can, and then you can work yourself back up. But we can also get there by just coming down onto the elbow. So I'm not going to use the block for this one because we're trying to work that heart space. So from that seated position, we're going to drop down to the elbows. Now from here, the higher I am up on the elbows here, and the elbows kind of like underneath the shoulders, the harder it's going to be for me to drop the head. So I'm going to walk my hand towards my glutes, towards my thighs, and I'm going to lift up through the heart space and drop the crown of the head down. So we've got some space underneath the body. We're pressing up through the elbows, through the hands, opening up, squeezing those shoulder blades. Lifting through the heart space, opening up through the neck. And then let's gently release, come all the way flat onto our backs, bend the knees, open those arms into a T position, and we're just going to rock those knees side to side. Now let's go ahead and gently bring the knees in towards the body, give them a great big hug. Rock a bit side to side. And then we're going to send the legs straight up to the sky. So let's take some time, point and flex the feet, roll the ankles. Good, and then let's go ahead and gently release those feet back down to the ground. We're gonna come into our pigeon pose here. So let's take that right ankle on top of the left thigh. We can stay right here or bring that right knee in, or the left knee, sorry, into our chest. Give it a great big hug, rock a bit side to side, soften the shoulders. Take a big deep breath here. Let's gently release the leg. So the left foot's going to drop down to the floor. We're going to come right into a spinal twist from this position. So we're going to let the legs drop over to the left side. That right foot's going to drop down to the floor, or if your block is close, it can also step onto your block. Arms are going to open out into a T position or cactus arms. And we can make adjustments in this supine spinal twist. We can stay right here with that right foot down on the ground. You could uncross the legs. You could add a little leverage by pulling with that left arm across the right knee and thigh and go a little bit deeper into the twist if that feels good. Again, you get to choose which option you like. I personally really have been enjoying lifting the opposite arm up as we open in this twist. Gives a little bit of extra space all through that side body and the spine. But again, this is your practice, so you choose the spinal twist variation that feels good in your body. Let's go ahead and gently release, bring everything back through center, uncross the legs, shift a bit. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to take that left foot, cross it on top of the right thigh. Again, we can stay right here, or we can bring that right knee in towards the chest. Soften the shoulders. Take a big deep breath here. Let's take one more breath. And then gently release that right foot down. We're going to let the legs drop over towards that right side. And again, choose where you want to go. We can reach that right hand across the left leg for a little extra leverage. Arms can open into a T position or cactus arms, or you can extend the arm overhead. See what feels good on this side. It might be something different too than the other side, and that's okay. Both sides of our body can be a little bit different. So we want to acknowledge those differences and do what feels best on each side of our body. Let's gently come back through center, uncross the legs. We'll take a few more windshield wipers with the knees. So you can just let those legs rock side to side. Allow yourself to settle here. We're going to come into our final relaxation pose. So that can be with the feet flat and the knees bent. Just let the knees drop together. Hands can rest on the belly or down by the side. You could also extend the legs out towards the corners of the mat with the arms down by our sides, softening the shoulders, closing the eyes, and just finding our place of rest. I'm going to come to a seated position so I can talk you through the body scan. But I want you to find a place that feels most comfortable. Adjust your body, adjust your clothing so that you can be 10% more comfortable in your Shavasana pose. And then let's take a moment to connect with our heart chakra, our heart space. If it's easier for you, you can bring the hands to heart center or press those hands against the heart. Wherever you are, whatever position or shape that your body is in, just take a deep breath here. Exhale, let that breath go. Let's remember that the energy of our Anahata chakra, our heart chakra, that energy allows us to recognize that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We are all interconnected within this web of relationships that extends through our life and out into the world. Let's take another deep breath here. Connect with this heart space. Connect with this energy, with this life force. And then gently release the hands, allowing the body to come into this place of rest with a little bit more comfort, a little bit more love, a little bit more softness. We'll start this body scan by releasing the tension through the toes, through the bottoms and the tops of the feet. Releasing any tension through the legs and the hips. Noticing that gentle rise and fall of the belly and the chest with each breath. Letting the shoulders melt into the floor. Softening through the neck and the jaws. Letting the tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. Softening all the muscles of the face, the corners of the eyes, the mind. Quieting that mind chatter, allowing yourself to be here in this place of rest and relaxation for the next few moments.
Let's gently begin to wake the body, wiggling our fingers and our toes, deepening the breath, bringing our awareness back to our place on our mat and our place in the room. When you're ready, you can gently draw the knees in towards the chest, give them another great big hug, maybe rock a little bit side to side. And then again, moving slowly, gently release the feet and inhale the arms overhead. Take a big stretch for the back. Gently turn over to one side, whichever side is most comfortable. We'll take another big deep breath here, and then gently come into a comfortable seated position on your mat. As we get to that seated position, we're going to softly lift the shoulders and then roll them down the back. Again, opening up through that heart space that we've spent a lot of time focusing on today. Let's bring the hands together at heart center, gently tuck the chin towards the chest. Take a moment here and acknowledge this space. Acknowledge this heart space that we have spent a lot of time paying attention to in our practice. Notice if it feels different now than it did at the beginning of our practice. And no right or wrong answers here, but we're just simply paying attention to our heart space, showing ourselves love and compassion. And I like to end each practice with a quote or a reading. This is one of the iconic quotes from the Grinch that says, "Maybe Christmas," he thought, "doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more." Let's take one more breath together, inhaling in peace, joy, and love, and exhaling anything that no longer serves us. The light in me honors and is grateful for the light in you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me on your mat for this Grinch-themed heart chakra class. I hope that you had some fun and you opened up that heart space and that you can take these little lessons of self-love and compassion out into your world. I'll meet you on your mat next time. Bye.